All right, here we go. We're going to do subtraction of integers. I've got this example here. We've got positive 4. Now it's subtracting. It's not adding in the middle. Subtracting positive 3. There's a few different ways we can do this. One of them is using algebra tiles. All right, so now I have positive 4. I've drawn it here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're positives. So that's positive 4. And now what I want to do is take away, subtract 3 of the positives. 3 positives. Okay? I'm going to have 4. I'm going to subtract 3 positives. So in order to do that, I find 3 positives and I get rid of them. And what's left over? Just 1. So the answer would be positive 1. Okay, that's an easy question in comparison to some that we'll do at the end of this. We could also use a number line. So I've got my number line here. I took my 2 numbers, I added them together, and got 7, and so I'm going to draw it from negative 7 to positive 7, just to make sure I have enough room. I start at 0, and I'm going to draw my positive 4. Remember, positive is to the right. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we end up at positive 4, so that's my positive 4. Now we need to think about this maybe a little differently. Here is a rule. Positive number, when you subtract a negative number, subtract a positive number, correction, this is positive. When you subtract a positive number, it's actually the same thing as you take that first integer and you add a negative number. Let's think about it this way. If you've got 3 candies and I take those 3 candies away from you, it'd be kind of like me adding 3 negative things that would eat those candies. So let's think about it this way. There's 4 candies, and I could do 2 things to it. I could either take away 3 of them, take them away, or I could add 3 things that would eat these candies. Let's say I add 3 friends to you that aren't actually really good friends. I add 3 negative things that eat those candies. So this guy eats that candy, this guy eats that candy, this guy eats that candy. You'd be left with how many? Still be left with 1. Okay? So whenever you have subtract a positive number, you can think that's the same thing as adding a negative number. And when we add a negative number, we start where we were, and we add negative, which means going in the negative direction, 1, 2, 3. This is the same thing as adding negative 3 or subtracting positive 3. Remember the rules we talked about last time? When you subtract a positive number or you add a negative number, it's just the same thing as subtracting that number. And where do we end up? We end up at positive 1. Here's a more complicated example here. You'll see why shortly. We've got positive 2 minus positive 9. So there's 3 ways we can do this. The first way, I'm going to use this method we used right here. This is the way that I do math without the models, but we'll show it with the models after. If I have positive 2 and I'm subtracting a positive number, that's the same thing as adding a negative number. It's the same thing. So we got positive 2 still, and we're going to add a negative number. Okay? So 2 opposite signs, we learned this method. 2 opposite signs. We need to find the difference between these 2, which is 7, because 9 minus 2 is 7. And then whichever one of those digits, whichever absolute value is bigger, we keep that sign. Okay? So that's the quick way of showing your equations. The next way you could do this is using algebra tiles. So I'm going to show this way because this is kind of interesting. If I write down the expression again and we want to find the answer to it, let's start by drawing our positive 2. And remember, with algebra tiles, we got a positive 2. We're taking away positive 9. But if we look here, we only have 2 that we could take away. But it's telling us we need to take away positive 9. There's this neat little method. Is what we can do is we can put in things that we know equal 0. A positive and a negative. A positive and a negative. And keep doing this. Keep doing this until we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 positives. We haven't changed this. This still equals positive 2 here. We still have positive 2. We've just added a bunch of pairs that equal 0. It's like we've given someone a candy and then taken away. Give it away, take away. Give it, take away. Give it, take away. Give, take away. Give, take away. Give, take away. They're still left with 2 to start with. Okay? But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 positives that we can take away. So let's look at these 9 positives. We're going to take them away. And what's left over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negatives. There's 7 negatives left over. Notice this. Positive 2 plus, minus positive 9 equals negative 7. Positive 2 minus positive 9 equals negative 7. We got the same answer. This is just another method to show it. We can also use a number line. Alright, I've got my number line here. I didn't go quite as far as adding to 11, but I already know what the answer is, so that's why I didn't go all the way. We have positive 2, subtract positive 9. Remember our rule? A positive number subtracting a positive number is the same thing as that positive number adding a negative. We just switch these two signs. It's the same thing. We'll get to the same answer. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do our positive 2, add a negative 9. And then this is just what we were doing last week. We got our positive 2. We start at 0. And we move 1, 2 to positive 2. And then we're going to add a negative 9. We're going to start at that positive 2 and go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And where did we end up? Negative 7. What's the answer? Negative 7. Negative 7. Negative 7. It's the same answer. It's just a different way to show this. So that would work. Now I just want to go over those little rules again. A number, doesn't matter what number, plus a positive number will be the same thing as that number plus that number. Okay? If you have a number plus a negative number, that's going to be the same thing as that number minus that number. This one minus that one. So a plus bracket negative is the same thing as just a negative. If you've got a number, you subtract a positive number, it's going to be that number subtract q. Remember, plus a negative number is the same thing as subtract a positive number. It's still going to be that. And then you've got a number, subtract a negative number, that's our other option. It's going to be that number plus a positive number. Remember, if someone were to take away negative things in your life, that would actually be a positive thing. And another way to look at this kind of looks like a positive sign.